SEC Insider Hit this morning, brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue. The official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds Show. We welcome in Tom Luginbill, national college football analyst with ESPN. And Lugs Mania joins us on the Yuengling Lager guest line. Tom Luginbill, when are you going to New Orleans to start the whole bowl prep process for the Sugar Bowl?
28th. We will. Our crew will get in on the afternoon of the 28th, and we'll have our coaches and staff and production meetings on Friday the 30th before we kick off the game at 11 a.m. Central on Saturday, 31st.
Okay. Desi Vega's Seafood and Prime Steaks, and
yes,
and Irene's. Two of the best restaurants, not in New Orleans, two of the best restaurants in the United States of America.
All right, good. I'm actually jotting that down right now.
Okay, so I know y'all like to break a little bread and have some good meals. Desi Vegas,
absolutely,
and Irene's, and you'll be happy. I want to get into recruiting. You've led ESPN recruiting for a long time. You get to see so many players play. We're going to bounce back and forth on a couple of them that you are familiar with for MSU and Ole Miss. I'd like to start with Isaac Smith, the safety out of Fulton, Mississippi, that signed with Mississippi State. They had to fight off LSU, A&M, and Ole Miss. What does Tom Luginbill know about Isaac Smith?
That he's a linebacker mentality playing safety. He's one of those really physical and rugged guys. And I'll tell you, I think it says an awful lot about Zach Arnett and him being named the head coach. The defensive relationship that's been created there, and for him to stick to it, to me that's big. That sends a message. Sends a message to the administration that at least in the interim and to get the thing kicked off, that they've hired the right guy, and did a pretty good job at the junior college level too with this class. I think most importantly, if they continue, Bo, to stay with some form of the air raid offense, I think it's really cool that Chris Parson stuck with this class. I don't know if you saw his comments this week, but I just loved them in relationship to Mike Leach and that legacy, and the fact that this is the last recruiting class that Mike Leach will have ever recruited, and they need to wear that as a badge of honor. I thought that was really, really cool this week.
Well, I want to piggyback off of what you just said. I think Zach Arnett and that staff did an unbelievable job under the circumstances. And I agree with you. We had Zach Arnett on Wednesday, and he talked about what kind of person Chris Parson was to literally rally the class from the get-go when things went the wrong way. And you don't always see that. And that was a big deal. He had everybody on the group text and so on. I'm going to give you a name. You probably haven't even scouted him. I'm going to give you a name to stick in your pocket for a couple years from now that I think is a typical Mississippi kid that's been overlooked. His name is Tobias Hinton out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He's 6'3", 215 pounds, and I think he's got an opportunity to be an absolute dude in the league. In the SEC first, and so we'll just keep it on.
my good friend, let me throw some information back at you. All right, Tobias Hinton came to two of. I'm looking him up right now. I've got his track numbers. I've got all of his measurables. 6'1", 195. That's from March 21st of 2021. And he had a 25.9 vertical, 7.66 L drill, 4.46 20-yard short shuttle. He wears a size 13 shoe. He has a 10.12-inch hand. And let's see, what else do we have on our boy right here? Let me read our report while we're talking about this, because you got me when you said, I don't know if you're aware of him. Now you got my attention. All right. Report written on February of 2021, Cuss Power 5 player, edge defender that looks to possess possess some length and good frame to develop. Inconsistent but flashes above average and sometimes excellent first step. Good lower body flexibility, gain leverage. I like his bend. Displays good functional strength, which should only improve. Displays good pursuit speed. Late bloomer. That's best footballs ahead of him. There you go. That's our evaluation from him as a sophomore. What do you think?
Whoever wrote that up nailed it. And I think you could make a strong argument. He was a top 5, top 6 player in the state of Mississippi, and he may emerge as one hell of a football player, either edge or outside linebacker for Mississippi State.
Hey, how about this? His favorite musical artist is Moneybagg Yo and Big. What is the other one here? I don't know. I'm trying to read it. His favorite food or snack is wings.
Okay.
I got all kinds of information for you. I got his Twitter account. I got his Instagram
account. I'm impressed there. All right.
What do we got to do here? I mean, come on, man. You know me. I got to deliver for my boy.
Dude, the depth and versatility, I love it. Tom Luginbill on the Yuengling Lager guest line. All right, let's go over. We've already done this, but it was a long time ago. I want you to do it again.
Okay.
Suntarine Perkins. What do you think?
Tom Luginbill. Yeah. You know, the question is where you're going to play him, right? I mean, I think the thing that I love about him is he could be like that jumbo-sized movement wide receiver or outside jump ball guy. He's played as an outside linebacker / safety. He's got great physical attributes. I mean, I think he is big. He's athletic. He's rangy. He's quick twitch. I just think, and you've heard me say this before, the more you can do, the more valuable you are, because it gives coaches more options of where to play you. And let's just say you try a guy out here, you try a guy out there, and it just isn't quite right, doesn't quite fit. You move him into another spot. I mean, that's the value of having those big athletic guys.
And yeah, he's a big time player, and you're right. There's no telling what all they'll do with him. Aiden Williams, wide receiver out of Ridgeland, Mississippi. Ole Miss also signed him, and he's a big kid, very talented.
Yes, I think that when you look at the types of guys that they're getting, the size that they're getting, we've seen Ole Miss, right, with the 5'10", 5'11" guy, all right, and we've seen him with, you know, the bigger guys like A.J. Brown and even DK. And so I think there's kind of a range in there that Lane likes to have a blend of heights and weights all on the field at the same time to try to create like that mismatch that you want to be able to have and move guys around and motion them and shift them and get people isolated, particularly when you get into the red zone. So, again, another 6'3" guy on the perimeter.
Tom Luginbill on the Out of Bounds show. Lugs, we've talked to you about this for years. When you look at what's happening with Micah Parsons with the Dallas Cowboys and how they're using him, do you expect that to trickle down to college when it comes to guys like Isaac Smith and Suntarine Perkins?
Yeah, I think it definitely can when they're kind of utilized as designated pass rushers and stand-up edge guys. Alabama signed a guy in this class, Quay Russaw, who is basically the very definition of that. He looks like an outside linebacker, but he essentially plays as a stand-up defensive end and can get moved all around the defense. I think that though defensive linemen are so hard to come by that what we're seeing now with some of the 3-3-5 stuff or even some of the 3-5-3 stuff is you might not have a pure defensive lineman, but you're utilizing your pass rush from the second level. And it's a lot easier to find those guys, and there's a lot more of those guys than there is true defensive linemen.
Tom Luginbill on the Yuengling Lager guest line. Biggest shock on signing day for Tom Luginbill?
Probably how Oregon rebounded. And I know that the Peyton Bowen flip from Notre Dame backfired on him yesterday, and Peyton Bowen ends up signing with Oklahoma. But I just thought Dan Lanning and his plan, you know, they lose the quarterback Dante Moore, and you're thinking, oh, man, you know, that's a huge blow. He'd been committed to you for so long. What do? They go use an established relationship with his new offensive coordinator, Will Stein from UTSA, who'd recruited Austin Novosad, who ended up, committing to Baylor. They flip him and completely replace the quarterback on Wednesday. Then they go and they flip an LSU corner. They go and they flip another wide receiver. And they signed Mateo Uyunglele, the defensive lineman out of California, that a lot of people thought was going to sign with Ohio State. And so I was really impressed with Oregon's plan and Oregon's ability to finish. I thought that was really, really well done. Texas did a nice job, particularly late, closing on DeAndre Moore, getting him to flip from Louisville. It's a big wide receiver target for Sark to get there in Austin. And not a lot of, shocking surprises as far as somebody signing with somebody out of nowhere that nobody saw coming. Certainly we don't have a Travis Hunter situation like we had last year.
One more before we let you go. Who got hurt the most on who took the biggest hit on signing day?
Yeah, Notre Dame lost the running back. They lost Peyton Bowen. Weren't really able to replace him. I thought Ohio State got hurt a bit. Auburn ends up flipping a guy that was committed to Ohio State. And again, Ohio State doesn't sign Mateo Uyunglele. So it was a good class for Ohio State, don't get me wrong, but not your typical 5 to 7. I think they finished at number 10 for us. But Notre Dame came into the day, and then during the day, I think had some surprises that obviously weren't favorable for them.
How did you see the gap between Bama and Georgia? One more, and then I know you got to go.
Not significant, but I would make an argument. I don't think enough people are talking about it. I think you can make an argument that this Alabama class is as good, if not better, than the Texas A&M class last year. And the difference when you say something like that, the difference is we've seen Alabama classes transfer over from paper champions to on-field champions. We haven't seen that for Texas A&M.
True. Merry Christmas to you and your family. I don't know if we'll be able to catch up. Obviously, we're not on Monday or Tuesday. I don't know about next week. You and I can figure that out later. But I know you're going to New Orleans, got a lot of stuff going on. Awesome football season with you. Wish you and your family a Merry Christmas. Hope you get to go to Desi Vega's or Irene's, and we appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man. Merry Christmas. Have a great one.
All right, buddy. Tom Luginbill on the Yuengling Lager guest line. Tom Luginbill on the Yuengling Lager guest line, national college football analyst with ESPN, and he loves some Isaac Smith and some Suntarine Perkins. Those are two phenomenal defensive players. Mississippi State does this more than Ole Miss in state. Don't sleep on Tobias Hinton. And Luke's he was able to pull that up in like 10 seconds, which I thought was pretty damn impressive.
How much does knowing their favorite snack play into recruiting a
huge? But Tobias Singleton is a man out of Hattiesburg. Keep an eye on what happens with him and what Zach Arnett does with him at Mississippi State. There are plenty of kids who are ranked outside the top 10 in the state of Mississippi who end up as y'all know, who end up playing like top 5, if not the number 1 player in the class. Happens all the time. Guys who are ranked 11th, 13th, 15th, 17th. And, I mean, can y'all believe that Snoop Connor was ranked 33rd? I know. And Benardrick McKinney wasn't ranked. So, we could go on and on. But when you get those raw athletic kids who are committed and want to go and get better and get in that 5 meals a day and all that, it has really worked out for Mississippi State and Ole Miss, and especially MSU. So, again, and I like to hear who showed up and showed out. Y'all know I've used kind of a model for a long time, and that's the Mississippi-Alabama All-Star practices. And that has worked for us. Our hit rate on that has been damn good. And so just something to keep an eye on. Tobias Hinton, linebacker or edge rusher, coming out of Hattiesburg. And what does Zach Arnett decide to do with him? And how early does Aiden Williams get on the field for Ole Miss? Probably day 1. But if not, pretty darn early. And that's a big kid out of Ridgeland. So, and for Mississippi State to fight off LSU, A&M, and Ole Miss for Isaac Smith, they did a hell of a job recruiting him. He's a national recruit, and I don't know who's going to be the best in the class, if it's going to be Suntarine, if it's going to be Aiden Williams, if it's going to be Isaac Smith, is it going to be some others? But holy smokes, those guys can absolutely ball, and that was exciting. There's a lot more recruiting to be done for both Ole Miss and MSU when it comes to the transfer portal. And we'll keep an eye on that throughout the next few weeks.
How much of that transfer portal recruiting will be recruiting still players to come to your school, and how much will be recruiting players to stay at your school?
Oh, to say that you have to recruit your players on your roster all the time, is, and you need people dedicated in the program to be recruiting the players on the roster at all times.
Well, we're about to go into that period of time that coaches always hate, and it used to be because you hated it because like you didn't want anyone to get arrested or to do something stupid.
Right.
Now it's you hate it because we don't want anyone to get convinced to leave while they're not on campus, right? When those kids go home for their 2-week break or whatever it might be, and they're at home in whatever state, a lot of them go back home to a different state than the one that they're playing in. A lot of voices can get in your head.
Sure.
Right? Hey, you need to transfer here. Hey, you need to declare for the draft. Hey, you need to do this. Hey, you need to do that.
Remember this. Once you get a transfer, though, and this is where Kiffin's kind of going, is once you get one in, they're there. Correct.
That's where state it's going to be interesting to watch. How many of this class, of the ones that you hit on, right? Because I know that always if you sign 25 high schoolers, they're not all going to stay because they're not all worthwhile, right? I get that part. But let's say 15 of the 25
Some will
are good.
transfer to Southern Miss and Troy.
Correct. Let's say 15 of the 25 are valuable players, either first team, first depth chart, or at least rotational guys at some point in their career.
Yeah.
Of those 15, how many actually stay on campus for their career versus how many
That's
get
a great
poached?
question. I think State did a great job keeping Crumity, Tulu, Bookie Watson, DeCamerion Richardson, and Nathan Pickering, and one other guys that would have had options.
Yeah. Woody Marks.
Oh, they brought Marks back. That's right.
And
now there's talk that Xavion Smith may come back.
Thomas. Yeah, you're good.
Xavion Thomas. And there's some buzz on Dylan Johnson. We'll see how that looks. But Xavion Thomas, man, if they bring him back, we'll see. I think some people maybe in Louisiana said that they had an LSU offer for him, and they didn't. But a lot of people say they have an offer for a kid to get him, in their kind of portfolio.
Look what I can provide you.
Right.
Look what I can offer you.
There's a lot of promises made that never come to fruition.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
if he comes back, but they've already brought a ton of kids back.
Yeah, and I think that's
Ole
going to
Miss,
be
obviously their number one guy was Judkins, and they brought him back.
Yeah, I think that's
But
going to
there's
continue to be the case.
A couple others that they want to bring back.
You're
too.
always going to be recruiting guys to stay.
Yeah,
that, like you said, like it's never going to stop.
That's anybody.
So, but it's very fun to watch two different approaches at this.
Heck yeah, it is.
Because
Arnett
and company and Mike Leach before him are going one route, and Kiffin's going the other route.
And I'll watch. I think you're a little Arnett is really gung-ho the portal.
Oh, I think they will be.
And he was the first one on the staff last May to really understand it. The offensive side of the ball didn't really want to go there. And you're already seeing that picking up Kamari Rogers from Miami and Radar Jones from LSU. So
two guys you missed on coming out of high school that now you're going to be able to hopefully take advantage of.
And they really thought they had Kamari Rogers coming out of high school, and it just, sometimes the bright lights of South Beach.
But we just talked about that. That's buyer beware, right? Like, again, we see it in pro sports all the time. Guys chase the contract and then are unhappy where they are.
Yeah.
It happens in college football. Now, the difference was players had no way out. Now they have a way out.
True.
Look, Brian Kelly's doing this at LSU. They called home a handful of Louisiana kids.
There was a time when I was growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, and mid 90s where every big-time basketball recruit from the state went out of state, and for 80% of them, it didn't work out.
Yep.
They were just too far from home, from mom and their surrounding, and they got lost in the shuffle at Georgetown and Michigan and other spots. And now that Stansbury started to change that, but it was one after another. It didn't work out, and so, yeah. Well, Ole Miss with only 12 signees. We'll see if they're going to sign some more. And Mississippi State with 25 high school / junior college signees. We are the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Our recruiting discussion is powered by Kinetic Staffing. Be your talent scout with Kinetic Staffing. Choose the winner among contract staffing firms, powered by kineticstaffing.com. Get the right people in the field. Grow your business. Grow your revenue. Find the talent that you need to achieve excellence through kineticstaffing.com. Tomorrow's National Eggnog Day. Do you drink eggnog?
No. When you said that earlier about people like sitting around drinking eggnog later today, I was like, that's like fruitcake.
Oh.
Eggnog and fruitcake go hand in hand.
Is there anything worse than fruitcake?
No, but I mean, eggnog goes hand in. Eggnog is like what you grew up watching on the Hallmark channel. Like, people would like drink eggnog at home, and you'd be like, "Oh, what's that?" And then you drink some, and you're like, "It's disgusting." And I know people like put alcohol in it and stuff, but it's still gross. Give me like a hot cider with some Russells in it, not eggnog with whatever you put in it.
A White Russian?
Yeah, I'd go that route all day over eggnog. Almost anything over eggnog. Eggnog is on the Mount Rushmore of overblown holiday things that are actually terrible.
Fruitcake is awful.
Yeah. Fruitcake, eggnog. I don't know what the other two
I've never
might be.
had a piece, but I've had a bite 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, that was something that really got passed around.
Yeah.
I think that was given to people that you didn't really like.
I don't disagree with that. It was like a very easy company gift, right? Like the boss would give all his employees fruitcake. You should buy a bunch of fruitcakes. Easy. Give it to the office.
Thanks for working your tail off all year.
Here's some disgusting cake. It's not even really. You should call it fruit bread because it's very little cake mentality.
True. And didn't you always feel like it was stale?
Two people just said eggnog is great. Y'all are probably Saints fans.
I have had some good eggnog, but it's easy to get bad eggnog.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Gross. I can think of a million things I'd rather drink than eggnog.
Me too.
Yeah.
A good Tito's vodka White Russian is.
Yeah. I'd rather sit out at the Browns game that's going to be 15 degrees, snowing with 30 mile per hour wind.
Going to be there?
If he actually cares about the Browns, he'll be there.
Woo! We're live in the Bank Plus studio, Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, driven by the pre-owned and new SUVs and trucks at Mac Hike and Flowwood. MacHikeFlowwood.com. MacHikeFlowwood.com. The Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Robert St. John will join us at 9:30, and we'll share some Christmas cheer, talk some food with the restaurateur, Robert St. John, at 9:30 on the Out of Bounds Show.